Ladies and gentlemen and programmers, we're going to do CodeAcademy part 6 of 6, lesson 6, part 6, whatever. We're going to learn some switch statements. Okay, I want you to read the stuff on the left in the white box, and I want you to write down a intelligent question about it. So what I'm talking about is I want you to go to lesson 6, part 6, and I want you to read this stuff right over here. Okay, switch statement. Okay, read this stuff. Read. Okay, I want you to read that, and I want you to write down an intelligent question in your notes. You should have a nice set of notes at this point. You should label it CodeAcademy 6, part 6, and write down an intelligent question. Okay, now let's get moving here. Okay, so write this down. An alternative to chaining if-then-else condition statements together is to use the switch statement. This conditional will check a given value against any number of conditions and run the code block where there is a match. Okay, we'll write that down. Okay, so let's take a look at an example here. Okay, so we're going to go over here. We're going to look at their example. Okay, so here's the dealio. So if it says the course equals algebra, so here's basically what it does. Okay, so we have this variable called course. It's holding algebra. You say switch course. So everything is basically looking at course. So this basically says, hey, does course equal algebra? This says, does course equal biology? This says, does course equal history? This says, does course equal theater? And then we have the default. So basically, if none of these are true, then this is going to run. Okay. So this is the equivalent of the else piece of an if-then statement. Okay. All right. So quiz question number 1. If it says string course equals algebra, and I hit execute, what's going to happen? So this is actually a question. So what's going to happen if string course equals algebra? That's a question. Write that answer in your notes, and let's see what the answer will be. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and execute this, and you are now enrolled in algebra. So basically what it does is it evaluates course and sees does it equal algebra, and it does. So the very first one is true, and so it's going to say you are now enrolled in algebra. Okay, and so you have this interesting thing that's really different about the switch statement. So notice there's no curly braces anymore. Okay, so we basically have the curly brace at the very beginning and the very end of the switch statement. But after that, there's no curly braces. Another difference is we have a colon here. We don't see colons very often. But instead of a curly brace here and a curly brace here, what we do is it basically says just go until you hit break. So if this is true, we're going to do everything boom, 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 until we hit break, and then that's going to kick us out to the end of our switch statement. Okay. All right. So let's try a different one. Let's try a little different, something different, and see what happens here. Okay. So what happens if string course equals Duke? Okay. Let's try that. Let's see what happens. So test that out, or write down what you think is going to happen. So I'm going to change this to Duke. Okay. And I'm going to hit. So write down what you think is going to happen first. Okay. So no. Okay. So let's see what you think is going to happen. And it says course not found. So none of these were true. Nope. And so then it's going to do the default and say course not found. Okay. Good. Let's keep going here. All right. What's going to happen if I delete a break statement? Interesting. Let's see what happens. Okay, let's go back over here. So let's delete. So let's put this back to algebra, or we'll say biology. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to say biology, and I'm going to get rid of this break statement right here. Okay. So what do you think is going to print When I hit run, write that down in your notes, kind of give it your best guess. And here we go. You are now enrolled in biology. You are now enrolled in history. What the heck happened? Because we got rid of the break, it didn't even acknowledge this, really. It just ran this. So it ran this and this. And then when it got to the break, it's like, okay, now I'm done. All right, so let's put that back. So the break basically says, hey, I'm done, and it kicks you down to the very last curly brace. All right, let's take a look at our next thought here. What happens if I add a second case algebra? So the question, I guess, really is, can you have two things happen? Are you allowed to have two things happen? So I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to get rid of this. Okay, so now we have case algebra. We have case algebra. So you are now enrolled in algebra twice. I'm going to change this back to algebra, even though it doesn't really matter. Hint, hint, hint. Okay, and so when I execute this, hey, you can't do that. You have a duplicate case. So you can't have two things run. You can't have two things true. Basically, the switch statement only evaluates one thing, which is what is course, and you can't have two things equal the same thing. So I'm going to have to do that, and wait, that's not right. And there we go. Something like that. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to comment that out. All right, I think we answered all the questions. Let's take a look here. Yeah, we answered all the questions. Okay, so what next? Okay, so when no value matches, the default block runs. Think of this as the else equivalent. Okay, what does that mean? So I said it already, but let's take a look at it again. What is this? That isn't it. Okay. So if none of these are true, nope, then the default is the one that will run. That's what that means. Okay, and if you need to, write this down in your notes. Switch blocks are different than other code blocks because they are not marked by curly braces. And when we use the break keyword to exit the switch statement, so we basically use the break keyword instead of curly braces. Without a break, code below the matching case label is run. So we saw that when we got rid of the break, things ran that we didn't want to run. Okay, now let's do the CodeAcademy lesson. Yay! Here we go. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at these instructions here. It says, we will rewrite the calculate shipping method so it uses a switch statement instead. Okay, so let's see if we can find out where we're at here. I can't find it. Okay, right here. So we're gonna do a little code here. So notice it's public double calculate shipping. So it's gonna expect a return. So we have return shipping cost. The problem is if I were to hit run right now, it's gonna give me an error message because the shipping cost has not been given a value, and so we have to give it a value right here. Okay. So it expects us to return it. It's trying to return it, but it can't because we got to give it a value. So that's what we're going to do right here. Okay, we're going to rewrite the calculate shipping method so it uses a switch statement instead. Okay, so we're going to say switch. Okay, and then what are we going to switch? So I'm going to say switch, and I'm going to do my opening and closing curly brace. Okay. Okay, assign the correct value to shipping costs using a switch statement. We'll check the value of the instance field shipping. Okay, so we're basically going to evaluate what is shipping equal to and see what happened. Okay, so when shipping matches regular, by the way, I don't like this. See how I went over here? Let me try this again. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to hit enter, and I want it to be like that. I want it to be scoochied over because this is underneath. This is underneath this conditional statement. So I want it to be tabbed in. Okay, so I'm going to say the case is regular. So I'm going to just copy that and paste it. Okay, so now the weird thing is we used a semicolon here. No, pardon me, a colon here. So if the case is regular, what are we going to do? Well, we are going to return 0. Return 0 here's our regular semicolon. And then after that, we're going to break. Ready, break. and then we're going to use our semicolon again. It's a break. All right, so then let me make sure. I'm going to just double check, make sure that looks right. Yeah, that looks, no, let's look up here. There we go. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so we have our semicolon, or our colon, and then our semicolon, and then our code goes here. Okay, let's copy this, and we're going to paste it right here. So we're going to hit enter, paste. Okay, so now what's the next case? What's the next option we have? So when the shipping matches express, so copy that, Control C, Control V. So if the case is express, it's going to be 1.75. Okay. And so now we're going to hit enter, and we're going to do the default, and then we're going to put a colon, and so the default is going to be return, so we'll just copy this, Control C, Control V. So the default is that we're going to return 0.5, and then here, so let's double check. It's always good to double check our curly braces. So here's our switch. That's right, we end there, and then this should end our method, calculate shipping, so we can get rid of some of these spaces here. Oop, not that. All right, let's run it and see if it works. Uh-oh. Okay, so we have an unreachable statement here. Let's see what we did. Oh my goodness, I totally did this wrong. Okay, so you can't, I totally goofed it up. Okay, so you can't do return, because that kicks you out of the whole thing, and so it's never going to get down here. So we didn't need to, we have our return statement here. What we need to do is we need to define shipping cost. Okay, let me fix this. Okay, so what we're going to do right here is we're going to say shipping cost. Let me copy this. So Control C. So we're going to say shipping cost equals 0 right here. We're going to say, we're not going to return 175. We're going to say shipping cost equals 175. And then here we're going to say shipping cost equals, and then here, then we return whatever we set the value for shipping cost, and then we return it. Okay, let's try that. Okay, that was it. Sorry about that. I would redo this whole video and not make that mistake, but I'm feeling a little wore out, so that's all you get. You get to see my blunders. But this is right. What is it saying? Hold on. Okay, and I guess I did it again, because this is supposed to be 0.50, not 0.55. All right, now it's happy. Okay, there you have it. Make sure that you have taken good notes, and make sure that you accomplish the task here at hand right there. And that's it.